So last month alone, my cleaning company deposited about $115,000 in our checking account. When you do the math and multiply it into 12, that's a whopping $1.4 million in annual recurring revenue. So the question is, how come an immigrant who had no prior experience, who does not speak perfect English, only had $200 in his pocket, without friends and places, quite frankly, to go, was able to build a company from scratch, not being a part of a franchise? The good news is, success leaves clues, per Tony Robbins, and that is so true. The reason I'm telling you this story, and I'll break down the 12 steps that I had to take, was a little bit of my story so it can reinforce for you the points and the capabilities as well. So you might be literally thinking whether you should go and start your cleaning company, or perhaps you already started and challenged right now and about to give up. And I have, believe it or not, at least 3 instances when I really wanted to give up as well. So don't do that. Watch this video instead. Okay, let's get started. Number 1 would be mindset. Luckily for me, I was lucky and I was reinforced, and my mom reinforced this into me when I was growing up. And my ambitions and mindset was always ready to receive, although I was not aware that the sum of money that one can earn is literally limited to basically what the person believes in. Once you break your mind, knowing that, hey, yes, cleaning, the jobs could be as low as $70, $120, $300, but the sky is limit, because the beautiful thing is cleaning industry is so big and people don't like cleaning, and every single standing building needs to be clean. So the opportunity is vast for you for taking. Therefore, the very first thing you need to do is change your mind. Unless you change your mind, and I know it's a cliche, it's been said a lot, but unless you change your mind, you will not go far. So when I arrived, my mind was, hey, if I can go to America and make $10,000 a month, then I'm the happiest guy on the planet. I even broke down the money: $1,000 for an apartment, $1,000 for a nice car, maybe $2,000 to fly back and forth to Uzbekistan, and that would just be enough for me. As I start working through and start working on my mind, then I start seeing possibilities, and those are endless. If a guy like me was able to do that without anything that would have lifted me up besides my mindset and ambitions, and once your mind is straight, and work on it a lot, because your mind will take you to places that you will really be surprised. So next will be taking an action. And it's really important. Don't be collecting all this information and not taking action. As they say, one of the really cool quotes that I've seen is, if you're an entrepreneur, you're just gonna jump off the cliff, and before you hit the floor, you're gonna open your wings and learn how to fly. So take an action. In my case, I just started a company and start figuring out things. If you can get a mentor, if you have someone you can learn from, then of course that's more power for you, but it just start, and it is huge. Next thing would be, I had figured out how to generate leads, and unless you have leads, you have no business. And I believe that at least one of the business partners in a company, so bringing a partner is an opportunity for you. In my case, I was myself doing the whole thing. What I know now, I'd rather bring in someone, because I'd rather share the profit, but also the risk and expenses of starting something, especially if you don't have lead generation skills. The good news is, those skills can be learned, and there's 2 ways you can generate leads, of course, right? You either do it yourself or pay someone else to do it. So in my case, my personality is pretty good to do the inbound lead generation, and that's what I figured out. I tried to bid projects to build websites to local developers or US-based developers, and once I figured out that it was so expensive I couldn't afford it, I had no other option, because I did not have money, but back then I had time and desire to learn. I started literally looking into websites, how to build it, and then I figured it out, how to build a website, how to optimize it so it can start popping up on Google. Number 4 will be pickup. So once you figure out how to generate the leads, once you have the leads coming in, then the next thing will be pick up the phone or get back to a lead when the inquiry is submitted. Just to give you some statistics out there, 30 to 50% sales go to the person who talks to the prospect first. And following up with a lead within 5 minutes after receiving an online form increases your chance to 9 times more likely to engage with them. So if you ignore the lead for 24 hours, your chances are very small. I figured this out really quickly. I used to do the cleaning myself at the same time, because I just needed to pay the rent and meet my expenses, didn't have money to hire someone for the office. So I looked out and found the answering service, and that answering service worked out really well, because it doesn't have to be you. That's the pro tip for it. So the person who's picking up the phone doesn't have to be you, as long as there's a human who's picking up the phone, gets the customers, requests their contact information, and let customer know that, hey, my sales team will get back to you, then the client is expecting for the call. But if the customer hits the voicemail or the web inquiry doesn't get responded, what the client is going to do? They will literally go to the next vendor. And believe me, the next vendor is going to pick up because they want to grow. So it literally gets to the point is, how much do you want to grow? Like, yes, of course, we can come up with excuses, but how much do you want to grow? How much time and energy and money you want to invest into yourself? Master walkthroughs would be number 5. And this is big. The perception is a lot of things. It's not everything perception, but it is a lot. The customer needs to feel, and we have this thing, we feel with our guts if the person is trustworthy, if they're capable to deliver or not. So work on your presentation. Once you pick up the phone and you have the walkthrough, and some of the jobs you might not need to go to the walkthrough, because if you do it this often, you might be able to spit out a quote over the phone. But if you were to go, or even when you're talking over the phone, perception is everything. Make sure convey to the customer that A, you are sympathetic to their challenges, you have the experience and capabilities to handle their problems, and you are there and your customer service is top notch. So I had this instance when I put a bid for a construction company to clean the dollar store after post-construction. And once I did the work, the contract was awarded. I actually led the team myself. Back then I used to go and do the work. And then I was talking to the superintendent. I'm like, hey, I saw other companies were coming in. Why did you pick me? And his response was, hey, you look most professional. You come, you were humble enough. You asked the questions, kind of like qualifying questions that let the customer know that I knew what I do in this work. You had a company t-shirt, a business card. You gave me a pen when you left, a flyer. You don't have to have them all in the beginning, but start investing in the smaller things. If you're just starting, make sure you have business cards and they look good. So master the walkthrough. Once I did that, my closing ratio went up. And then the next would be the follow-up, because 90% of success is basically turning up and sticking to it. So I'll give you another statistic. 60% of customers say no for the 4 times before they say yes for the 5th time. So if you haven't read the book, Go for No, then go and read it. It's an amazing book. But the concept is you keep asking a person over and over, and don't get disregarded by the first no. No means not now, but statistically, when you keep asking people, 80% of sales require 5 follow-ups. And quite frankly, and quite interestingly, about 48% of salespeople give up after hearing the very first no, and the remaining 44 from the remaining will give up after hearing the second no. So if you can see, about half of the salespeople are gone because they ask for the first time and the second time, and they hear no and they give up. But statistically, ask them 4 times, and then 5th time most likely you're gonna get yes. And it also shows to the customer that you're persistent, you are interested in doing business with the client. Of course, don't be annoying. There's a fine line between being annoying, so they actually feel too much of you. You don't want that. You need to give space and room for the customer. Remember, the clients have their other priorities as well. You're not the center of the world that everything spins around, right? And the next thing would be remove friction. So you generated the lead, you did pick up the phone, you mastered the walkthroughs, and you're following up on the customer, and you want to remove the frictions. And I'm putting it as a separate line item because this is something to be mastered. For example, sending in a proposal, follow up the email, whatever you do, a service agreement they need to sign, and they can sign e-sign electronically, invoicing, billing, proposals, whatever you can automate, you want to do that so you have lesser frictions for a customer. They literally should be able to see your proposal, say yes, and sign on it to accept it. The smoother the experience you can create to the customer, not only you have higher chances the customer will work with you for that project, but also they know that you are mastering creating smooth experiences, and therefore most likely they will work with you again next time. So number 8 would be to deliver. So regardless, whatever you do, make sure you hold up your side of a bargain. And if you sell something to a customer, sell something that you know you can deliver, and you can deliver really well. Your goal is to become and this will be a pro tip, to become a reorder business, not an order placement. So the customer don't just place one-time order, but become a repeat reorder business. Incentivize them after you deliver for them with a discount. Perhaps one of them could be, hey, did you like my service? I'm happy you liked it. How about next service? I give you 10% off if you refer me to someone else, and better else, I'll even give another 10% to the person you refer me to as well. Now they actually know, you know your mind is at peace because you're referring somebody who can deliver, and the person you refer to gets the discount and you get a discount. It is a win-win. And if you can't do something, just say it. It's better to say no to a customer for something that you don't do. So for example, people call us and we don't do currently ductwork cleaning for a kitchen. So I'm on a phone with a customer and prospect and I'm telling, this is what we do. Yes, we can clean, grease, strip wax, remove, polish, everything, but we don't do the duct. I'm like, hey, we can even clean your hood, but we don't go inside of the ductwork. And they know that, because what you want to do is, instead of promising something you can't deliver or deliver half-ass and then go into frictions with the customer and possible litigations, non-payment, better for you just to say you can't do it. I had cases when I had admitted, and when the customer knowingly, oh yeah, no worries, I have someone else or I'll find someone else, because they felt comfortable with me because I was upfront and honest. And sometimes, yes, it did cost me a business for that particular case. For example, the customer is like, oh no, I was looking to pay for one subcontractor to do everything. I'll go with someone else. But then once the someone else fails, they came back to me again because they knew that I wasn't there to get them. I was there to provide a genuine service. Once you master delivering, now you kind of have like a full circle of sales to closing. The number 9 would be for you is ask. So what you want to do is, each time you deliver and your customer is happy, you want to ask them for a review immediately if you're right there and talking to them, or make an introduction for someone who can benefit from your services. There's a little bit of clarification. I'm not really haven't mastered this. This is one of the weakest points for me in this whole thing. However, I keep working on it and I see it every time I do it. My closing is higher, because when the customer is at the highest ever happy point, you want to ask them for a referral and or a review, whichever you need. But ask one, don't ask them both. If you're more in need for an online presence and stronger online presence and you need reviews, then ask for it. If you need introductions, then ask for introduction. And should you ask for an introduction, another pro tip, don't just get the other lead name, phone number, and email, but instead ask the client right there and then to pick up a phone or shoot them an email and say like, hey, look, I've got John here. He wants to talk to you. He does great. And when your customer calls, or the customer sends an email and says, look, so-and-so, I want to introduce you to John. Now that when the customer is there looped in, then most likely the other prospect will respond and won't brush you off. So once you have that mastered, master how to stay in touch. And that's something that I'm pretty good at. And that helped me to grow my company, because the relationships you create, you want to stay in top. Stay on top of them and show an interest in their lives as well. Help them out. For example, if you see a social media post of your customer looking for something and trying to get a word out, then share, like, comment, bring in other people, refer more people. The more you're able to help out your customer, the more the client's loyalty towards you will grow, so they'll come back. And another pro tip would be reciprocate whatever the customer is doing. So if they're communicating to you via text message, communicate with them via text message. Most likely this is their preferred method of communication. If they do via email, go to email. Some people like me do pick up the phone and like to talk. So if that's the case, then pick up the phone and ask how they are. How did their wedding go? Stay on top of the mind. And this is a great recipe to create recurring work for yourself. And that's something that I had to figure out just to grow my company to this amount where I am. The goal is, again, to become a reorder repeat business, not just one-time order placement. Number 11 would be delegating. And delegating is huge. And I know it comes with giving away control, because giving away control is something inherently is not enough, because we think if we don't do something ourselves, then somebody else is going to drop the ball and it's not going to be as effective, and etc. But delegation is so important, because nobody has, doesn't matter how rich, young, or old you are, nobody has more than 24 hours in a single day. However, notice the most successful people complete so much stuff a day because they've got a little army of people that help, and they all row towards the same direction. I know and understand when you delegate, you start giving away money that is already in your pocket, and it might not be a feeling that you're accustomed for in the beginning. But believe it or not, once you start delegating, you will start finding more time for yourself, so you can start actually working on your business. And that's the goal. As a business owner, your intent should be improving your systems of your company, bringing in more leads, being there in front, business development, and etc. And eventually you can give that part away to the right person when the right person shows up. If you don't know how to delegate, let me know. I'll probably put a video about that. However, there's a book called Attractions by Gino Wickman, and that is amazing. The guy goes and breaks down the steps you need to do, the vision, traction organizer, how to stay accountable. In accounting, there's a lot of information. Let me know if you want me to put a video about the Tractions book, which is amazing. So once you've figured out the delegation, there's one more step left. And before we go to that, I'd really appreciate if you can hit that like button for me, because it really helps. It tells me that the content that I'm creating is helpful for you, and subscribe for it as well. And thank you for doing that. So the last step would be rinse and repeat. So once you've figured it out, then what you want to do is double down on what works best for you. Drop out whatever you are losing money, time, and energy on, because focus on what you are doing, and then rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. And this will help you to grow your company to $1 million plus. Check out this video, and I can't wait to see you there. Keep on crashing your cleaning companies. Bye-bye.